All right, Queer is the new movie by Luca Guadagnino, and this is his second movie already this year. He's the type of filmmaker who has been working so hard to have his brand of cinematic language reach as many people as possible. You could say that his last two features, Challengers and Bones and All, were built a little more to appeal to a mainstream, and here we have a movie like Queer that is about the same size as those two movies, but has flares of both old and new themes that keeps Luca Guadagnino the most exciting filmmaker working today. We also have much of the same crew in Challengers returning. Justin Kuritzky's comes back on script, Mario Casa on editing, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross coming back to do the music, and the same cinematographer. I'm not going to mispronounce this guy's name. Despite the same team, this is a much different movie than Challengers. And it's been a couple years since I've read both Junkie and Queer, but I feel William S Burroughs, how do you properly adapt an author like that? How do you capture the experience of reading his books onto a movie? And I know Naked Lunch has been done by one of the most literate filmmakers ever, David Cronenberg. But Luca's been making hints at a Burroughs adaptation at some point. There's the opening scene on We Are Who We Are, where the kid has a copy of The Wild Boys. And after movies like Suspiria, I know that Luca is unafraid to go into the obtuse, which brings me a lot of joy to say this is a terrific movie that we have. Queer is further proof that this filmmaker is a force to be reckoned with. It's set in 1940s Mexico, and it follows the misadventures of a man named Lee. He's this opioid addicted, sweaty, sexually charged man who becomes infatuated with a discharged American Navy serviceman. This movie has a very freeing yet dense complexity to it. Sure, the story can go anywhere, but its characters and locations carry such heavy subtext. From the beginning, we're getting a cover of a song from a band popular in the 90s. And with it being set in the 1940s, getting this kind of allowance to tap into modern sensibilities, blurring a line with what is newer or what is antique. This kind of mind-bending thing that heightens the movie, Luca is a genius at. Sure, Pablo Larraín does this with all his movies taking place in an older time, but having a new look to them. But debatably, nobody blends mediums like music, photography, literature, and performance like this filmmaker. Maybe Spike Lee, which I'm sure Luca is a big fan of, but Luca's films feel way more current in his casting, having actors like Omar Apollo and Daniel Craig. Something that's always been fun about watching one of his movies is seeing the influences on his sleeve. And on this one, I feel the heaviest is David Lynch. Also, like Bernardo Bertolucci, and the editing all around feels very quick and hypnotic, a lot like Challengers. But the performances and the costumes and the design, it all harkens back to an old Hollywood feel. Daniel Craig gives this weird body language and weird faces and almost Buster Keaton-like movements. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, truly incredible score that they have here. I love the very ambient bits and also how it could delve into something grungier sounding. There's this theme that's played on the intimate bits and spread out the entire movie, and it is just so good. Also loved Mexico and this neo 1940s, the rectangular building structure. It's a small but fascinating piece of land that we get to explore on this movie, and when it does expand, it's all the more investing. It's also a pretty explicit movie, which if you're someone that thought that Luca was a prude or preferred to leave things to the audience's interpretation, well, it's all played out over here. And I think it credits just how bold this movie is. There are surreal moments that play out here in a very Luca way that have no green light. And as the audience, we follow it and believe it a lot, like somebody like David Lynch. There's even a bit of household appliances that play a role in the surrealism, whether it be clocks or televisions. It's a bizarre movie, and there's no real end goal in sight other than when and where this relationship that we're following is going to take shape. All the performances here are great. Specifically, Jason Schwartzman, he really gets in the mind of his character, and Daniel Craig and Drew Starkey are awesome as the leads. But I also want to mention how Luca hires directors to be co-stars in his movies. This time we have director Ariel Schulman and David Lowery. Yeah, it's an interesting choice because they're not recognizable, but they are small and potent parts. Overall, excellent work here. I believe the original cut that was sent to Venice was close to 200 minutes. I feel robbed. This was 135 minutes. I understand them ending it where they did, but I am now very interested in what a extended version of this movie looked like. As a fan, I definitely want more, and I really hope A24 figures out the best way to sell this movie to audiences. So I would give this a 9.0. It is going to be in theaters November 27th and released by A24. Thank you for watching.